Hey everybody, it's Jim here, and recently a local shop has been contracting me to do some maintenance and repairs on some guitars that they've had come in before they hit the floor for sale, and I knew it was only a matter of time until one of these Gibson SGs made its way onto my workbench, and here it is. I'm going to be as objective as I can be, given that I really don't care for this model. I'll touch on why at the very end of this video, highlight the repair that was done and needed, because it was something I had never had to deal with myself before, how I solved it. But first, we're going to hear what this thing sounds like. Today's sound sample is going to be a little bit interesting because we are going to be using a real amplifier with the SM57 mic up, the Mesa Boogie Rectiverb. However, the sounds really are going to be coming from the Universal Audio Dream. I'm using it in the effects loop, which bypasses the section of the Mesa Boogie amp, so that's going to be our baseline tones. Any drives that you hear will be the Benson preamp on various levels of gain. So let's get started. Now, this specific SG is a 2001 faded model, and one thing I like about Gibson faded models in general, the neck on this doesn't have a super glossy feel to it, so it remains really comfortable and easy to play compared to something like a Les Paul or an SG Standard or Studio, respectively. No complaints in that regards. And tonally, I think it sounds really, really decent as is. I believe these are the 490 and 498T pickups. I'll have to look up the specific model year to verify if that's correct, but off the top of my head, I don't think I'm too far off with that analysis. The guitar feels like an SG. It's super light. The neck, even when I was playing it, was starting to time sitting down. That gives you any kind of idea where I'm going to be going with this. See, yeah, that's not good. But this guitar, like most SGs, is a very light instrument. It has that going for it for sure. I didn't have much problems as far as the tuning stability goes after a restring and lubricating the nut and making sure that the nut was filed correctly for the right string gauge that I was going to be stringing it up with. I say this a lot in these setup and repair videos, but I really can't stress how important it is to do both of those things, especially with Gibson style instruments that do not go straight through the nut and can potentially have tuning issues compared to other brands like Paul Reed Smith or Fender, for example. So that's all I'm going to say about the specific model until the end. The repair was interesting. I will say that. The guitar I thought was in really good shape. There's some buckle rash on it, but that's to be expected. The actual problem was on the back, the tuners here. Two of the actual casings were falling off here onto the ground. I'd never seen that before. I looked up online and people were like, oh yeah, that means they got to go. There's no way around this. So I got a little bit creative. I used a set of vice grips to hold it into place, and then I may have soldered it together because this shop, being a pawn shop, they want to save as much money as possible, and the tuners function fine so long as the actual metal casing was connected. I did that. It held really true, held really steady, hit it with a tiny, tiny amount of epoxy super glue, and that's it. The thing is ready to go rock solid, and visually, it's really hard to even tell that it was done. I'll zoom in there if it'll let me focus, but that's pretty much it. It needed a real setup though. The strings were like that high off again. It's a common thing with pawn shop guitars I'm noticing. Nobody really likes low action or knows how to lower the action, it seems. But overall, I think if you like SGs, one of these faded models is a really good way to get into it because you get the important parts of the instrument. You don't compromise on the quality in that aspect, and they can be had for about $600 cash locally on a fairly regular basis if you keep your eyes out for them. Now, ever since I started doing the series where I make a case for every instrument model, the pros and the cons of it, and what I really like about them, I've had people ask, am I going to be making one about this guitar, or why haven't I made one about this guitar? Because this is a very popular model. There's absolutely no denying that. And as I stated earlier in this review, I think it sounds just fine. But I hate this guitar. I can't find much positive to say outside of those two things. I alluded to this earlier in the video. The dive of this neck is absolutely ridiculous. And that's whether or not you're sitting or you're standing. It's something you absolutely notice on it. The other thing that really drives me nuts about this guitar model in general, not the specific guitar, is because of where the neck ends here and just the design in general, you're further away. And I don't like that. Being a Telecaster player and also being a Jaguar player, I like feeling compact with the guitar. This feels miles away, even more so than the Jazzmaster. And I think that might be part of the reason the Jazzmaster out of the 3 Fender offsets is my least favorite, but at least that has a vibrato system. At least that has unique pickups to it. That has some redeeming qualities, and it looks great. This guitar, hideous, there's these devil horns on it, uncomfortable to play, neck diving, just not a fan whatsoever. So I'm going to leave it at that. That's why I don't like SGs. You probably won't see me ever buying an SG, but I'm not going to rule out maybe making another video if another one comes in for repair, and the repair is worth talking about. I'm sure I'm going to get other ones, whether they're Epiphones or Gibsons, that need some work, but unless it's something, you know, really uncommon, I highly doubt you'll see another one of these on the channel. But I did want to make this video for those two reasons. One, to explain why I really don't like SGs, and two, because the repair was something that I don't typically see every day, and when I was looking up people that had this problem, they just kind of ran from it without trying to fix it and ordered a whole new set of tuners. So I don't want to do all that stuff. I like to try to find problems and solve them as cheaply as possible, if possible. So if you enjoyed this video, leave a like on it. I really do appreciate it. Leave me a comment. Let me know how wrong I am about these guitars, and I'll leave you a comment back saying, you don't know what you're talking about. These things are terrible. Just buy a PRS. It's a better version of this guitar. Paul really got those right, if you ask me. Comment, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next video. Take it easy, everybody.